We have a brand new t-shirt drop at loveUFOshop.com, link in the description below. Please check them out and support the channel. Hello guys. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm actually on the road and I won't really have time to do a full analyzing UFOs video, but I had some content I really wanted to share with you guys, so this will be a quick video and let's go ahead and jump into it. First up is a very short video that someone took while backpacking in New Mexico near Wheeler Park. It's very short, so let's go ahead and watch the whole thing and then we'll zoom in afterwards. Now, what makes this clip strange to us in the UFO community are three things. One is that the object seems to be round. Two is that it seems to reflect light almost like it's metallic. And three is the strange, soft motion of this thing as it only appears briefly in the scene. It's round and metallic, so could this be a balloon? Sure, I guess, but in the middle of the woods? And don't balloons just fly straight up and away, while this one seems to either come back down or fly further away from the scene? So maybe it could be on a tether of sorts. Yeah, I guess, but I'll say it again. In the middle of the woods? You tell me what you think in the comments down below. Next is this really weird footage that comes to us from Israel. Let's go ahead and watch it, and you tell me what you think.
לא, יש פה משהו בשמיים. כמו, בואי תראי, קווים, וואו. אבל אני לא יכולה לראות את זה טוב. וואו. זה להרחיק את זה. קווים כאלה, בואי תראי משהו מיוחד, בואי. שעשל לא טוב לי. וואי. תראי רגע. אני רואה, נו מה. תראי. אני אנסה לעשות את זה לא בווידאו. נו, מה, כוכב אדומה, מה? את לא רואה אבל את הקווים האלה? כן. מה כן? אני רואה, כן. או. אבל מה זה? פה ערפל שמאוד לראות. וואו, מדהים, אבל מה זה? אני אעשה לעשות תקריב, אבל בקושי רואים. יש הרבה ערפל. עוד לא 6 בבוקר. אני לא יודעת מה זה. שתי נקודות אדומות. אני אנסה להקריב יותר ויותר. הנה.
You know, it's a shame that I don't understand what they're saying in the video, but this is certainly extremely strange in that this object doesn't seem to move at all in the sky. It's very bright, and I really can't compare it to any drone, flares, or weather phenomena that I know of. Some people say about this video that why didn't the person just keep filming until this thing left the scene? But I can actually attest to that. Having recorded something strange in the sky myself, I know that when something doesn't move in the sky for more than 2 minutes, you tend to stop filming due to the lack of activity. But yeah, I mean, this thing is ultra weird, and it doesn't seem to be CGI from what I gather. I mean, sure, I could be wrong, but I'll pass the question on to you. What do you guys think this is? Please let me know in the comments down below. Our next 2 videos are not UFO related, but let's go ahead and watch one first and then discuss it.
I stopped and started talking and I was confused. All right. Pretty sure he was looking for where the sound was coming from, but I stopped and started talking and I was confused.
So this guy is interacting with this deer by singing, but did you guys catch what was in the background? Something moves along the trees behind the deer that looks quite creepy. And now, I don't know a ton about deer, but if this was simply another person walking behind the deer, don't you think this little guy would have heard him? I mean, I don't know, but I'd like to hear what you think. Did this person actually capture something supernatural in the woods? You let me know in the comments down below. Next is something equally as creepy. Check it out. Now, what do you make of this? Is this a Tesla glitch? Or are the sensors actually sensing a person who, by the way, isn't physically there off the side of the road and over a cemetery? How many of you guys actually believe in ghosts? Wouldn't this be the most logical place to find the ghost? I'm not 100% convinced on the video, but I'm also not 100% convinced that we can see everything that exists with our naked eyes. Could these sensors actually be sensing something that we can't see in this video? And again, over a cemetery. Let me know what you guys think. Next are a couple of videos I wanted to share with you because I know some of you guys like the old UFO related videos. Back before there were hundreds of fake UFO TikToks and a select group of professionals took the subject seriously. No real commentary from me on these next 2 videos, so just go ahead and grab some popcorn and let's take a listen.
The near collision of a UFO with a United States Army helicopter piloted by Lieutenant Colonel Lawrence Coyne and his crew. While flying over Mansfield, Ohio, at 11 p.m. on October 18, 1973.
I noticed a red light, but I thought it would be the port wing of another aircraft. We saw it kept coming at us. It didn't have any wings. It didn't have any windows, as you would see on a conventional aircraft. This object moved at a very fast rate of speed. It saw us probably before we saw it.
I looked out the window and observed this light moving at a very excessive speed, in excess of 600 knots. Coming at the helicopter, it looked like a lockdown missile.
A family of 5 in a car observed the strange red object on a collision course with Colonel Coyne's helicopter.
They wanted to stop.
She finally stopped the car and I jumped out.
To be honest, it scared me. I was scared at that time. But it didn't sink in that it was still really something, a UFO.
The thing that makes this particular evening a unique experience was that it was almost a mid-air collision with an object that you know as a UFO. We did not know it was such until it was on top of the helicopter, and that took just a matter of minutes.
Colonel Coyne put the helicopter into a dive to try to avoid impact. When he and his crew looked up, the object was keeping pace with them.
While it was in this position, the green light came out from the undercarriage of the UFO.
I remember the whole top of the sky was lit up a dull fluorescent green.
This was just a humongous green light just shining down on us in a very definite cone shape. You could look at the light, you could actually see the beam of the light. It scanned us for that instant that it hesitated over us. It scanned us.
Colonel Coyne cut the power and set the controls for a steep dive. In spite of this, the helicopter was pulled upward toward the UFO from an altitude of 1,700 feet to an altitude of above 3,700 feet. This document is the result of years of investigation into Lieutenant Colonel Coyne's helicopter encounter with a UFO. Lieutenant Colonel Coyne felt so strongly about his UFO experience that he became part of a delegation to the United Nations that tried to encourage the UN to deal with the subject of UFOs.
Funny how incidents like these kind of seem to get brushed under the rug and basically forgotten about. What a shame. Next is Jacques Valle talking on the UFO subject. I'll have a link in the description down below to the full interview, which is really worth a watch. But for now, let's go ahead and watch a little piece.
In your books, particularly your most recent book, Messengers of Deception, which is many years old, you suggest that UFOs are deliberately trying to manipulate our subconscious mind to create a mythology in our culture about themselves, which is one of the reasons that they're both physical and concrete, yet very elusive at the same time. Do you still feel that way?
I think to answer that, I'm not trying to evade your question, but to answer that, you have to step back, a little bit farther. What we know today about the UFO phenomenon is considerably more than we knew 20 years ago or 10 years ago. And we have to understand it at three different levels. And the first level is the physical level. And all we can say about UFOs at the physical level is that it's a lot of energy in a small space. In the space of this, if we could take the energy of a nuclear reactor and contain it within this studio, for example, you'd have something that would approximate what a UFO does. It's a lot of energy in a small space emitted through light energy and through pulsed microwave energy. The second level is what happens to witnesses, what would happen to you and me if we were close to that source of energy. And again, now we're beginning to understand the physiological and the psychological correlations of a close encounter.
Yes.
And those have to do with a loss of the sense of space, loss of orientation. I've had witnesses tell me we were driving north when everybody knows they were driving south. They were disoriented at the time. Loss of a sense of time, people thinking that only 10 minutes went by and 3 hours went by. Very often effects on the skin, sunburns, I think that was shown in close encounters.
Yes.
Effects on the eyes, going from conjunctivitis to blindness, to temporary blindness in some cases.
And sometimes you've mentioned people have actually been healed of diseases.
There have been cases where after a UFO close encounter, it seems that the healing process had been sped up. Now there are known techniques now using electromagnetic radiation that will heal the fractures, for example, or will heal superficial wounds on the skin, but nothing that would heal as fast as the reported effects.
Yeah.
So we're beginning to understand at least the descriptions, the symptoms of the exposure to whatever UFO is. And then there is a third level, which is where the level I was addressing in Messengers of Deception, which is a social level.
The impact on our culture.
Yes, and the impact on our belief systems. And at that level, and that's something that's very difficult to convey to the believers in UFOs, the believers in little green men from space, that at that level it really doesn't matter whether UFOs are real or not. If enough people believe that something is real, then it is real in its effects.
In terms of its social reality.
In terms of the social reality, in terms of what people act according to their beliefs.
Yeah.
And that opens a question of, really at two levels, could the UFO phenomenon be manipulating us? Could it be a teaching system of some sort? Perhaps something that we are creating ourselves, perhaps a series of images that we are projecting. I think Carl Jung came very close to expressing that idea in one of his books. Or could it be manipulated purposely by people who have the technology to simulate UFO sightings? And people say, well,
Wow, I often wonder how many UFO stories have graced the ears of Jacques Valle, and you have to think to yourself, if only one of those stories is true, imagine the implications of what we might be dealing with. It's worth a ponder. Alright, that'll do it for this episode from the road. As always, this is Jesse. Please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of this content, and share these videos with like-minded individuals because we love the UFOs. Till next time.